The first thing we are going to do as a part of the use case flow is to review the Docker file. Now let's open Visual Studio Code and then navigate to the folder where we have all the samples installed. I just want to quickly go over the structure of this directory. As you can see, all of the samples are specified with a number, and then you have use case 1 through use case 10. There are some basic Docker commands enlisted here, which you can also try out. Apart from that, there is a resources folder which talks about install scripts, and then there's a scripts.txt which basically gives you a summary of all the commands we're going to use. This is kind of a cheat sheet which you can use after the course is complete. So let's get started with use case 1 because we've been talking about it right now. So if you see, look at use case 1, we have a directory called pictolearn sample. Now this has a website. It has a few web pages to be accurate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and say reveal in Explorer as far as Windows is concerned. And then if you look at the pictolearn sample, the goal is to be able to host a website which looks like this. So this should launch up on the container. Obviously we're going to hit it through the server. So that's the number 1. Number 2 is we have the Docker file, which is going to determine how the Docker image is going to get created. And then we also have a scripts.txt. So the scripts.txt is an easy to learn mechanism. I'm not going to type all the commands. I'm just going to copy the commands from here to the terminal and then show you how this works. You can follow the same. This way we save on time and you can learn it faster. And obviously I'm going to go over each and every command and give you a synopsis of what it is doing. So and we also have the httpd.conf file, which I'm going to customize as far as Apache HTTP server is concerned. So let's take a look at the Docker file. The Docker file basically says from httpd:/latest. So I've given annotations on the Docker file for ease of understanding. All this is saying is download Apache HTTPD server and that to the latest version from the DockerHub. So I want to give you a glimpse of DockerHub. So let's go to hub.docker.com. And then this is a repository, just like we have the Maven repository, which contains all the jar files and the dependencies. Docker, again, owns a repository and also allows you to install directly from the repository. So this voids the software engineer or Unix engineer to get the image, install it on the prompt. So let's take a look at this. I just searched for HTTPD. So the first thing I get is an official repository of Apache HTTP server. Look for the word official. And as you can see, it's got 10 million pulls and 971 stars. So I will click on this to go take a look at it. So as you can see, it says supported tags and respective Dockerfile links. So if you click on the tags, it's got all the versions of Docker which you want to install. So you can specify whatever version. By default, I have specified latest, but you could also say 2-alpine and it's going to give you that particular image. So what I'm going to do is, all this is saying is download this image from the Docker repository. Okay, this is a very important command, so please make a note of this. The second line states the maintainer. This is an optional parameter, and this basically refers to the author of the file. The third thing we're going to look at is we're going to copy this directory from here to the image which we are downloading. Now remember, we are customizing an already existing version of Apache HTTP server. So we download it, we specify a maintainer, we copy this into this particular directory. And I'll tell you in a little bit what that means, but as you go through the future lectures, you will understand what it means. So for those of you who know Apache HTTP server, you would have known that the pages are served from user local Apache to HTTP docs, and I'll get to it in a little bit. So this is the configuration I have made in httpd.conf. So as you can, if you go to the httpd.conf and then Control F, that particular path, you're going to see the document root and the directory have been modified here. So this is going to serve the index.html page from this as the root directory. All right. So, and then all I'm doing is I'm copying the httpd.conf as is from here to the image. So this is a very simple Docker file. And so let's get started on seeing how we can create the Docker image. Now let's take a look at how we can build an image from the Docker file with the website to be hosted. The next thing I'm going to do is to be able to fire up PowerShell. So I have PowerShell. You can basically go into here and search for the PowerShell, or I actually have it as a shortcut. So I'm just going to open it. I'm just going to go back to this directory. I'm going to say right click on it and say copy path, and then I'm going to go to that path. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start executing the scripts one by one. So as we saw in the start of the lecture, the first goal is to be able to build an image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this line here. It says docker build -t my httpd, and then it says a dot. So I'm just going to copy it right here. So as you can see, I'm just using Docker. The build says I want to build an image. -t is nothing but TTY. We'll get to it in a little bit. As far as summary is concerned, I will summarize this -t a little bit more clearly. Just know that for now, what it's saying is the output is the terminal. So this is the image name. So my httpd, and then it has a dot. So the dot basically signifies the location of the Docker file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it. So as you can see here, the first thing it does is to be able to go to DockerHub and retrieve the image from DockerHub. It is downloading it to your local file system, and it basically reads the Docker file. Boom. So we have created our first image. Congratulations, team members. So let's take a look at how this is being done. Now let's take a look at how to list all the images. Now that we have built the image, we want to be able to know how to query and list all the images. So now that we have the Docker image, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list all the images in the system. And the command to do that is given right here. So I'm just going to say Docker images. As you can see, there are two images. The httpd image is the first image which we see, and then there's a my httpd image. So let's take a look at the attributes here. So when you do Docker images, it basically enlists all the images which you have on your system. The first attribute here is called the repository. It gives you the name of the image. In our case, we named it my httpd. So you see my httpd here. And after that, you have the tag, which is the latest. I'm going to go over how to tag images as a part of the build ship run use case. It has a uniquely generated image ID, and it was created about a minute ago. And it also specifies the size of the image. As you can see, the original image which was downloaded from DockerHub was httpd image. It has the latest, and then it has a unique ID, and this was checked in 13 days ago. As you can see, this is smaller than the image which we created, only because we basically moved the httpd.conf, and if you see, we did these two instructions, which basically said move this directory as is, which has our web page, to this location, and also move the http.conf, which is the customized version of our image. So let's go back to the terminal, and let's look at how we can inspect the image. Now let's take a look at how we can inspect an image. Inspecting an image provides valuable metadata information and can be used for debugging purposes, and you will get to know a little bit more about the image you just built. So as a part of inspecting the image, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Docker inspect the image ID. So as you can see, this is what I've specified on the scripts file. It says Docker inspect image ID, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the image ID and then just going to plug this in here. And if I look at this, as you can see right from the top, when I did Docker inspect, it's going to give you some metadata information about the image. It gives you the SHA, which is a unique ID. As you can see, the image ID presented here on this section, especially here, is the shortened version of the ID which you see here. Okay, and then it also talks to you about the name of the image, the tag of the image. Are there any parents? So if you see, the parent here is 524D93, and then you will see that the parent is basically nothing but the Apache HTTPD image which got downloaded from DockerHub. Apart from that, it's also got some other useful information. Now, the reason why you need to know this is because you will need to understand that this image was written on top of an existing image, and the existing image was Apache HTTP server as is, and that's the original image. And this is basically the customized image. All right. So we basically covered 3 sections here. One is we saw how we can build an image, which is this command which you see right here. And then we saw how to view all the images, and then how to inspect an image. Congratulations on building our first image. Here is what we completed as a part of this lecture. Just to summarize, our goal was to build a customized version of HTTPD image. So as a part of this process, we understood the working of a Docker file. We learned the command to build a custom image, and we called the image my HTTPD image. We used Docker CLI to list all images available in the system and also to inspect the image. Now let's go ahead with the next lecture. Thank you for watching.